I resist the temptation to make this a declarative statement because it's very possible that what I have for video tonight is not something new, but it certainly is something I don't think I've seen in a video before as far as working on palettes, and it's something that's working really well for me. When I first started, it wasn't uncommon to, if say there's about 12 to 15 boards, sometimes less, but say 12 to 15 boards on a pallet, I might get maybe 2/3 of them usable, not cracked long ways, so that if anything, I'd have to run it through a table saw to get the broken line out of the middle. And with what I'm doing now, it's getting to be more like about 90%. And usually the only things I have that are broken are things that were broken to begin with. And I go ahead and take them off to try and get the rest of it, or I think maybe I can use part of the board. And so anyway, the video tonight, I'd really be glad if anybody knows, oh yeah, I've seen a video on that, and maybe share a link or something. But if by any chance it would be helpful to others trying to make the most of salvaging pallet wood, then please share it. And I sure do appreciate the subscribers and for people that are watching. And I look forward to seeing what I can do, especially with these boards I got today. I have several more from other pallets, pretty much like these boards, and I plan to use them on a project that's really important to me, because it's something for a friend. And I think it might work. And if it does, it's going to be something that will be useful for these folks and will be a real sense of accomplishment and satisfaction for me. So take a look at this, please, and see what you think. And yeah, I'll keep doing it, and maybe have some updates on it if I find some other ways that I think work well. I've also got a safety tip in here about something that I did not know about pallets when I first started, and I think maybe this also, maybe I've seen someone talk about it, but the nails that are used in a lot of pallets are not just normal nails. And so take a look at that as well, if you would, and take note of that, especially if anybody is using power equipment to cut them, because it could be helpful, could maybe save some money, but especially it could help be a protection. And so anyway, thanks so much. I didn't have a whole lot of time today because, as I mentioned later in the videos, I had a friend who wanted to take me out to see the His Only Son movie that has been in the theaters just briefly, and we got to go see that tonight, and I recommend it. It's really great to see what's happening, and especially here heading into Easter weekend, it offered a great reminder that the story of Easter not only is not just about that one weekend, not only about the crucifixion, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus, but how it fits into the whole story of human history and how crucial it is. Crucial being the operative term there, having its root in the same word where we get crucifixion. Central. It's central to human history, and That goes for anyone who believes and doesn't believe, because everything has been affected in the world by that series of events, and everything that happened before it and after it that changed everything about how we understand ourselves. And that's, again, for people who believe and people who have other beliefs and people who don't think there's a good reason to believe at all. Nice little movie. Amazing what they accomplished on such a small budget, and great the way they kept the focus on the idea that not only is God there, He's been here, and His promise is that He is here, and He's had a plan all along, and He's accomplishing that plan. So pallets don't mean a thing, really, in comparison to all that, certainly, but everything we do can be a reflection of our desire to try to make the most of what we've been given, much or little. And I'm glad I've been granted the gifts of health and energy that make it possible for me to be active like this, and to have the time to invest and hope to see good things come from it. I have some more to say on that I'm going to do in another video. There's something very, very special about the idea, particularly of pallet and salvage wood, that is at one of the motivations for me to be doing this, and I look forward to talking about that in more detail. But for now, please take a look at this video, and again, tell me what you think. Appreciate it. Thank you. That's been quite a while since I've broken down pallets, and I've just got a little bit of time to work on projects today, because a friend has invited me to see a new movie out from Angel Studios Distribution, and we want to support that kind of stuff whenever we can by actually going to the theater. I don't go to the theater very much anymore, and so I want to make a point of this. So just keeping it fairly simple today. I'm breaking down some pallets that I pointed out the other day that just have some fairly nice 1x4-ish pieces, and some oftentimes decent 2x4s as the stringers, and they're specifically going to be used for a shelving project that I'm beginning to lay out. And so I'm going to show a couple things. I did a time lapse that I'll probably put up as well of breaking down one. It's not some kind of major genius breakthrough or anything, but I've got a technique that I don't think I've seen other people doing, that I'll point out in this video. And then also another little safety thing that I don't think I've seen anybody talk about, and I want to be sure that I mention it. So let me grab a board and show you what I'm talking about. This will not be news to anyone that's worked with pallets quite a bit, probably, but if you can see right in here, there's actually a little bit of copper wire. And the fact is that these nails, I guess as an extra way to bind the nails to the wood, I don't know if you can see that or not, there's a little piece of wire still on that one. I could only find this as an example. These are actually wrapped sometimes with a little bit of copper wire, and that helps keep the pallets wood tight, I guess. And it's not that big a deal, but if that hits a table saw, my blades are not super expensive, so I don't worry about it too much. But if that hits a table saw and there's a lot of sawdust around, that literally can start a fire. So that's a little something that I keep an eye out for. And I usually try to trim this stuff off now instead of leaving it raw. If I'm going to take something off, I try to take it past those holes so that I'm not getting running into any risk of hitting some of that copper that really is kind of impossible to see. There's some great magnet finders, but how are you going to dig that out, you know, once you find it? I mean, or know for sure that you've gotten all of it without checking it over and over again. So for me, it's just simpler to just cut it off from there. Hopefully that's a safety tip that might help somebody. And then I will show a way of getting these, especially these soft pine boards, off with a minimum of cracking, and hopefully I won't it won't be a disaster because it doesn't work for me this time. So let's do that next. When I started, I would just basically start tearing into these things, and oftentimes end up with a board. I thought, oh, this is going to be great, and then it just splits right in half. And so here's a little technique I've found that works for me so far, and I like I say, haven't seen it, but I'm using two wedge bars, and you know, there's different names for these. Basically it's get some leverage and use two of these, one on either side, and I try to get the claw in the nail wedged in the claw on both sides if I can. And I've been able to lift up the boards without doing much more damage to the wood. So let's see if I can demonstrate this without making it look like I don't know what I'm talking about. Usually get one started, and these have two different widths. I don't know if that's showing up too well. This one is thicker than this one, so I usually start with this one and get it up so that it can go in the back, and then the other side that might not be as high, I can use this one, and just stretching them apart will oftentimes bring that up, and sometimes it'll pop one of the ends off as well. Let's see if we can finish up this board as an example. So once I get a little lift on that, then the thicker one can go there, and we can get this one under here. And pop that up, and it's, well, then you can kind of wedge this up so that you get a little rise, and then the end board oftentimes will come off fairly easily. Did I just block the camera completely with that? I don't know. Anyway, that's the idea. That two wrecking bar approach has been working for me well, and I recommend it. And I think I got these pretty cheap from a garage sale or something, and so not an expensive thing to have to do to be able to have good productivity with getting boards off with a minimum of cracking. If that helps somebody, fantastic. And I'm going to keep going here and get some more of these broken down.